Are people gambling away their retirement? And I mean that quite literally. Are people gambling it away? Are they throwing money away? Are they going to the casino? And more specifically, is the rise, because there's been a rise in sports betting in this country. There's been a rise in cryptocurrency over the past decade. You've heard that. And you've probably heard about meme stocks. These are the highly volatile stocks in the market that seem to generate a lot of attention in a short amount of time with a lot of volatility. Are these destroying people's retirements? That's what I want to talk about today. And you might be saying, I don't get involved in any of that, but is not the stock market also known as the Wall Street casino? So it might be. Let me bring in my co-host, who I know does not gamble. I've been to Vegas with you, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yep.
You and I did a show. I'll put it up here in case anyone missed it, on gambling and the Wall Street casino. And I can say emphatically that you didn't gamble much, but you're just not a risk tolerant guy. You're a pretty risk averse guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love playing blackjack, and it used to be in Vegas back in the day. You could go to a $2 table or a $1 table, and then it became a $5 table, and you could go all night, right? You could go all night for very little money, and it was kind of fun. I'd sit there for a few hours, and when I was out, I had a set amount of money, and when it was gone, it was gone. I got up and left. Or if I was up over a certain amount, I'd get up and leave, and that was my rule, and I stuck by it, and it was a lot of fun. But now you'd be lucky to find a $10 blackjack table.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's $20 hands, and that's a lot to lose every hand if you don't win. So, yeah, no, I'm gambling adverse. I don't like to take
involved
big risks.
in sports betting or cryptocurrency or meme stocks.
No. Just in fantasy football, I might make a wager because I know, I'll beat you, and so I'm willing to take your money, Dan.
So that's a zero-sum game type bets like poker, right? A lot of people say it's poker gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gambling, but it's not the same as a roulette wheel where you're going to lose over time. Poker, you can actually have an edge. So I bring this up because I want to talk about how this is a serious issue now. I am sure you've got friends that do the sports gambling.
Oh,
now.
Sure.
In Florida, it's legal now too.
Yeah, a lot of states I know a lot of people.
I read this report here. It's called Gambling Away Stability, Sports Betting's Impact on Vulnerable Households. And I'll put the link for those that are watching to click and read along. But what this study does is it looked at sports betting and how it's been impacting how the people are investing now for the future as it relates to whether or not they're sports betting. So the thought was, okay, if you're going to do sports betting, it's going to take away from other forms of gambling. If you're going to join sports betting, you're going to use those dollars that you were using to buy lotto tickets. We've done a show on why it's a good idea to play the lotto. Watch that if you haven't seen it. I literally suggest that people should play the lotto, and there's a reason behind that. But the idea was, all right, if you're spending on the casino, the playing blackjack, or you're betting on the horses, or you're doing some forms of gambling, that pool of money will shift to sports betting. But that's not what's happened. And what this study has shown is that it's taking away from the more traditional investments in the stock market, which some call gambling anyway, but it's taken away from retirement, which is long-term investing, which could be a problem. So I want to get some quotes from this and get your reaction to it. This is from the study. So these are quotes. Ready? Quote, "We find that increased online sports betting substitutes primarily for positive expected value risky investments, driving a large decrease in net deposits to traditional brokerage accounts." So it's not replacing the other risky assets. It's replacing the a positively expected investments in the stock brokerage.
Mhm.
We know over time that the stock market's the place to be. Over the past 100 years, stock markets average 8.9% or whatever the stats are. It's not that if you put money in and wait 100 years in the stock market, your odds of losing are guaranteed, like a casino. There's a positive expected return with long-term investing in the stock market. They're saying sportsbooks taking away from that. People are using those dollars to put into to bet on the Minnesota Vikings, right?
Right.
Which is a bad move anyway.
Probably this year. We'll see.
Quote, here's another quote. A rough quantification of the causal effect of sports betting on investor behavior suggests that $1 of betting reduces net investment by just over $2. So every dollar you're
Yeah,
putting into the
you're cut
sports book, it's taking $2 away from your other investment.
you're cutting your investments in half.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's huge.
People aren't saving enough for retirement. At least that's the the messaging out there. So so I was thinking to myself, people that are doing sports betting are more inclined to be doing betting already. So I looked. There was another quote that I want here. Quote, cryptocurrency exchanges see a small decline in deposits, but a much smaller magnitude than the sports bets themselves or the declines in equity investments. So my thought was, okay, people that are doing sports book are going to all right, I'm not going to do cryptocurrency anymore. I'm not going to bet on the marijuana stocks anymore. I'm just going to take that money and I'm going to put it in the sports book. But the study is saying that's not what they're doing. They're still doing that, and they're taking money from, right?
They're still betting on cryptocurrency, which is at this point still like gambling. Yeah.
Right. And the reason why I agree with you on that is because cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is probably the most stable of the cryptocurrencies. There's these coins and there's no intrinsic value necessarily. So it's a bit of a gamble. You're paying whatever the next person's willing to pay. That's the hope, is that it goes up. Whereas when you're investing in a stock, you theoretically are investing in that company. You do own a share of that company. So they are creating value. So you can, right? I mean, it's different than traditional investing. So I agree. But would you agree with me that you would think that people that are doing crypto are just going to shift to sportsbook, or do you see this as two separate things and people are doing both?
Nope. I think people are using money they should be using for things like saving for retirement or their regular investments. I don't see people people who do the sports betting that is now popular across the U.S. More and more states are legalizing sports betting. And the people I know who do it are going to Vegas as much or more than they used to before sports betting became legal. And so you'd think it would be the opposite. Oh, now that people can, bet and gamble, they can scratch that itch from home and they're going to stop doing these other things. But if you love gambling and you're willing to take those kinds of risks, it's just going to make you want to go to Vegas more. That's what I see with the people I know who are really into it. Some people might do it casually, but I think you get sucked in if you get a big win early. The casual kind of goes by the wayside, and then you're all in. And that's the problem with gambling, and that's why I don't, because, not to brag, I think I'm too smart for it, because I know that somebody might say, but I won $2,000 last week. Yeah, okay, you've been doing it for a year. You won $2,000 last week, but over the last year, you've spent $10,000. So
right. That short windfall, the adrenaline of hitting the slot machine,
yeah,
and winning 10 grand,
yeah,
when it's cost you 20 to get there over the past month.
Yeah.
Here's another quote from it. The allure of betting might divert funds from savings and investment accounts, particularly for constrained households, which affect household financial stability and long-term wealth accumulation. So yeah, I think the quick buck is always there, and people playing the scratch off tickets, people going to the casino. if they're doing it as a form of entertainment, that's one thing. But what this study is showing is that it's not necessarily a form of entertainment because they're pulling away from their savings and investments. They're showing that a lot of people that do the sports book gambling, and that's the only one they looked at. They didn't look at casinos or poker or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
But it applies to all forms of gambling. They're taking away from the long term, their future, and they're more likely to have high credit card debt. They're more likely to go bankrupt. They're more likely to be in a situation where they're not saving for the retirement.
Yeah.
And so, is this a problem for the degenerate gamblers? Of course, it's a problem for degenerate gamblers, but that's always been a tale as old as time.
Sure.
This is happening to people more and more, and it's not. If you look at the boomer generation, I have many clients that go to the casino and gamble money away. They
Sure.
do it, and that's
It's the form of entertainment, probably.
right? You show up
That's their entertainment budget.
10 a.m. You go to a casino at 10 a.m. Who are you going to see? Retirees, mostly.
Yep.
And is that a bad thing? A lot of people say yes, but we're all adults. We all can do it. I get that, and I'm a libertarian at heart. It's like let people do what they want, but if it's impacting their retirement. So I've had people and I've dealt with people. I have clients that, gamble and they have a budget. A lot of times they have a budget. They'll go on a cruise and they say, this is my gambling budget for the cruise. Some go overboard. I have clients that have spouses with gambling problems. It's a financial burden. It is a battle. And so that's a disease. That's a different issue. What I suggest to people is, and yet I mentioned this in the beginning, isn't the stock market the Wall Street casino, right? Isn't it investing always a gamble because it's not guaranteed?
Yeah, but only in the sense that there's risk. There's risk in the stock market, but with gambling, you can't do what you can do with the stock market. With the stock market, you can look at the last 100 years, and the stock market has never hit record lows. It's only over time gone up. There's been drops, but not record lows. It's never hit the bottom, and it goes up over time. At least the past 100 years shows that. Now, that's not indicative of the future, but at least with the stock market, I can look at the last 100 years and say, hey, in fact, just this last year, we hit record highs. And over time, it's up. I mean, what is it? 73%, or I forget how many, 75% of the years the stock market is up. It's only down 23% of the time or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And talk about sequence risk. We've done the show on that recently. It's, the order of returns matter. Think about how exacerbated that could be with gambling. If you have a bad year in a stock market, you can ride it out because you got long-term horizon.
Because it's going to go up again.
Right. But with a blackjack table, now minus the card counters, which are considered cheaters, I guess. If you lose the first 5 hands at $20 a hand, you're down $100. It's not like all of a sudden there's going to be a bunch of people coming in to raise that because the valuation's down,
No.
the company's still making the product. No,
but
the odds of you winning are the same every deal.
But also, if you gambled for 100 years or look at gamblers for 100 years, if you did the same thing we just did with the stock market, the gambling hits bottom a lot. And it's not like looking at, if you look at a chart of the last 100 years of the stock market, it started here at 0 and it's way up here.
But if you zoom in, it's going like this.
Yeah.
But over time, it's going up.
Yeah. Right. But gambling, you're down. It's the opposite. You're down all the time down here, and you're going into the negative all the time.
100% guaranteed loss because the casino's making the money.
Right.
So how do you deal with this? I have clients that like to do investing in small stocks, and they come to me and they'll say, here's my portfolio, but I really am interested in this hot stock tip I got on, this gold mine in, Venezuela, or I'm thinking about, cryptocurrency, or I think something like, Canada's going to legalize marijuana and the US will too. And I want to buy this stock. And so they want to do this, and it's to them an investment form.
Mhm.
To me, it could be considered a very high risk investment, but it's also considered gambling in a way. So what I often will do is suggest, okay, you want to do that, let's carve out a portion of your portfolio
Mhm.
that when I'm building out their income plan, I'm not including it. When
Mhm.
I'm building out their long-term growth, I'm zeroing it out.
Right.
So it's already a gone. And I look at it more as an entertainment. They'll look at it as an investment. And you're right. If they hit big in the beginning, then it's like, well, why am I even paying you, Dan? I should have done this with all my money.
Mm.
Right. So that's the battle. But a lot of times, what seems to work for me and my clients is you take that portion, you leave it in the account for them to manage, and they enjoy it. And they some find it exhilarating, some find it entertaining, some find it very, they get that feeling of accomplishment, and they're studying and they're taking it seriously. Why take that away? Carve it out, let that continue. Over time, if they lose, they'll come to the conclusion that I don't want to do it anymore. Um, or they'll do well. Either way, it's a victory, and they're still getting that not fix. I don't want to call it fix, but you can look at it that way.
Sure.
That works.
Yeah, if that's what
Um,
they wanna do for entertainment or for a hobby, that's one thing, and just carve and set aside a certain amount, and if they have that amount and it's not going to ruin their retirement or other investments, then that's fine. It's just like my theory on blackjack tables. You go down if you have a set amount of money, and once it's gone, and if you get up a certain amount, you walk away.
yeah,
When your initial
you harvest the game,
principal's gone,
right?
you walk away. If you're up a certain amount, you walk away.
And so, then there's the next level, which is my husband or my wife is addicted to the slot machines, and that's a different story. And
Sure.
so that's when you separate your accounts so that and that's where a guaranteed income stream would come in handy if someone has got
Mhm.
a problem. Is like, all right, let's take the control of your assets away so that you don't gamble it away. Let's create an income stream. Let's create a pension. And that works too for people that are inclined to
Yeah.
take the high risk road. But,
Right. But
you
it's a
know,
good thing, Dan, that I don't have any addiction problems.
right, right.
I
You're
don't
buying
have
these records
it's
to
a
use
good
on
thing
your.
that I don't, waste money that should be going to my Oh, wait. What are these records?
You use it as a hobby, but do you hand crank the records still? Is that you have to wind it up and let it play?
I actually have an old Victrola sitting up here, but it's for looks only. It actually works, but, no, I don't hand crank the
So
records. Yeah.
so gambling is a part of society. It always has been.
Yeah.
And we know who are the gamblers and not, but the
Sure.
prevalence of online gambling makes it a lot easier to gamble in your underwear at home. A lot of people gamble
You
in the
paint quite an
casino because
image.
they're
Thanks.
bored or they like the atmosphere. They're not alone. And so that's a different type of problem that can be solved in other ways. But again, we're just talking about the next generation coming up that's inclined to use meme stocks, cryptocurrency, um, sportsbook gambling. Are they putting away the money they need for 30 years down the road? So making it easier does take away from the traditional investments. Um, and retirement planning shouldn't be in high risk investments. That's gambling. So you have to keep them separated.
True.
Who said that? What was the name of that group? You should know that. Keep
Keep
them
them
separated.
separated.
That was like,
Offspring?
yes, 1994 that came
Yeah.
out. So that's 30 years now. So the people that grew up with that
Keep them
song when they were in their
separated.
30s are now
Yeah.
retiring. It's the people that are in their 30s and 40s, 50s now that are like, oh, this sports book thing, they need to be cautious about this. So don't get sucked into it. If you're thinking about retirement and you like the idea of sports gambling because it's entertaining for you, just remember, okay, here's my budget. Like Tony says, if I lose it, I'm out. Don't use your retirement funds or don't reduce your retirement savings so you can then throw it away at a sports book. It's not a winning bet. I don't care how good you are. The casinos, the ones running it, the bookies, they are out to make money,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yep.
something called a vigorish, and they're going to get it.
Yeah.
So don't think that you got the system. And if you do, all power to you. Um, don't mix it. Don't commingle that with your retirement. That's the bottom line. And the study shows it, to my not surprise. I did think, though, that people would be taking away from the other stuff that they were gambling with and using it for sportsbook, but it turns out they're taking it away from their
Yeah.
good pool of money.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't deny that it can be fun to bet on a game or something, but yeah, you got to watch it. You got to be careful.
Yeah, you do. So, thanks for a good show, Tony. I will. Well, we got an NFL season starting soon. We'll get our picks in for that.
Yeah. Remember, kids, no wagering.
No wagering. We'll see everyone next week.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.